All right, welcome everybody. Hope you're all doing all right. It's a Thursday, no, Thursday night, and I want to get into this topic dealing with Stephen A. Smith. This will be a brief live stream. I do have some slides. Slides I'm going to take a look at, but it shouldn't take too much time. Stephen A. Smith has been in the news a lot, somewhat going viral with some of the comments that he's made recently, and I wanted to get into some of that, but also I wanted to make some points that I think are relevant and pertinent um, when it comes to Stephen A. Smith. I've been watching ESPN, and that's the network that Stephen A. Smith is on. I've been watching ESPN since I want to say 1990, 1990, maybe 1991. It may have been before that. It was before that because it was the Bulls. Let's say 1990, in and around there. And I've seen the evolution of ESPN, and they always have a guy who is the headliner, if you will. How's it going, Tata? I remember there was a time, I can't remember his name right now, but he was the football guy, football voice guy, and he was the headliner of the show. I can't remember what his name was. There was a time when Stuart Scott was the headliner of the show, of the network. These days, it's Stephen A. Smith, and I've watched him closely over the last 15 years or so. And to be quite honest with you, it's amazing that he's allowed to do what he has been doing for all of this time. And I'll explain what I mean in just a moment. So I do have some slides. Let me pull this up. Now, let me see if it works first. But I haven't done this in a long time. I want to start this off by with this particular thumbnail, and it says "Stop the Hate." And I just want to outline this because one of the things, the transitions that I've seen take place on ESPN, there's been a transition from true reporting and journalism to more sensationalized gossip, conjecture, personal attacks. It reminds me of like Jerry Springer or something like that. And the person who is the front line for that these days is Stephen A. Smith. He's actually turned into a caricature. He's always yelling and screaming and antics, and sometimes he says things just to get people riled up. Sometimes recently he said that Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time over Magic Johnson. Sometimes people say things just as a shock to get people engaged. And he was so happy when Michael Jordan texted him. He was like a kid in the candy store. He was so happy, and he had to share that. Yeah. Michael Jordan texted me. Yeah, but he was telling you that you don't know what you're talking about. But that's besides the point. What I want to get to here is what has happened is that ESPN has turned into a venue of hate, and more specifically, hate towards black male athletes, and even more precisely, black male athletes in the NBA. They do it too with football players, but for whatever reason, the sport that is targeted the most by people like Stephen A. Smith is the NBA. And it's truly unfortunate. I'm going to explain why that is the case, because it hasn't always been that way. See, Stephen A. Smith is not a journalist. He's not a professional journalist. Okay, he's not. He gives commentary, but he's not a professional journalist. He's not like a reporter. That's not what he does. He is a gossip guru. That's what he is. And then he's always yelling, and that just kind of gives, it's part of a show to keep people interested. But I think that there's a level of integrity that has been compromised in all of that, to where sometimes these types of people, they will say things, but it's not because it's truthful or factual, but they just want to say things to sound intelligent, or they want to get a reaction out of people. Which brings us to what we're going to get into to start here. Now, I do have a video. Man, let me, I forgot to pull it up. Let me pull this video up. Let me see if I can do this, because I haven't done this in such a long time. I'm going to see if I can pull up this video. And this is the video that I posted. Yeah, I think it'd be good. I'll play it. We'll play it first. This is the video that I posted I uploaded onto YouTube earlier today. Some of you guys may have already seen it. Some of you may not have seen it. So I'll go ahead and play it. Matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll play it once. I'll play it straight through. It's 3 minutes and 27 seconds long. And then, if it works, okay. And then after I play it, we'll go through it step by step. And then I have a short slideshow presentation, and then we'll be done for the evening. Again, thank you all so much for being here. If y'all hit the like button, I appreciate it. 78 vets in the house. How's it going? I ain't seen you in a while. God's little princess and Tata as well. Thank you so much. Last call is in the building. Peace to you and Jimmy Jamboree. It is Leo season, family. What's up, Doctor? I know it's been such a long time. Good to see you. And 100% Real Man is in the building as well. Thank you so much. Jimmy Jamboree, I ain't reading that. Okay, Reverend says, Lennon, good to see you back in action. The Quick Chat is in the building. Well, Batala shakes for everybody. I definitely could use a Batala shake right now because it's hot. All right. That is all in the building as well. And Tristan as well. Okay, thank y'all so much, everyone who's tuned in tonight. Yeah, he was a reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He did that for a long time, but once he got onto ESPN, it's just a totally different thing. You know, and for whatever reason, and there are still people who are reporters and who are journalists that are doing fantastic and doing fantastic work. I'll outline some pictures to show you of some, in particular, black ones. There's other people too, but ones who are black. That's relevant because it shows the difference between what things used to be and what things are today. And, I would say that news in general has actually become corrupted in this sense that oftentimes it's just opinion based. There's no facts or anything or any sources that are provided that you can verify. For instance, if you write a paper, you're going to have credible sources, right? You probably want peer-reviewed sources, right? Because it adds to the credibility, relevancy, so forth and so on. And there was a time where reporting, it was very stringent in that way, that you have to dot your I's, cross your T's, you have to have a documentation, or you have to have a source that you can actually, listen, this is my source, and you can verify, other people can go verify. Not these days. Not these days. And so there are a lot of people who are grandstanding as if they are reporters these days, or they are journalists these days. When in point of fact, they're just shock jocks. And that's what Stephen A. Smith has become. He's become a caricature. You know, and I'm going to show you some pictures too from a long time ago, because he wasn't always like that. He wasn't. Okay. I think the fortune and fame that has come his way and the amount of money that he's been able to make, and him being the lead figure, the front man, if you will, that's out front for the global leader in sports, I think a lot of that's gone to his head, to where he's become arrogant. And when he is wrong, he's unwilling to admit that he's wrong, like with the Lonzo Ball situation. Okay, we'll get into that in just a minute. What's up, Zane? Okay, so let me see if this will actually work. Let me know if you guys, and you know what, I'm not even prepared for this. Let me see here. I gave my daughter my earbuds that I used to use. She don't even use them, but I can't even do. No, yes, I can. Give me 1 second. I can do it right here. She doesn't even use them. I should have brought them back down here. Give me 1 second, everybody. All right, let me pull this up. Let me know if you guys can hear the audio. 22nd, 2023, Stephen A. Smith. Okay, can you guys hear that? Let me know inside the chat room. All right. It's kind of loud on my end. And let me know if I need to turn it down or turn it up. I'd appreciate that. I enjoyed your math teacher story when you stood up for your Portuguese. What are you talking about, Portuguese woman? Who said she was Portuguese? Tata, what are you talking about? Okay. All right. Boy, y'all funny. What's up, Zane? I agree with you 100% on the change. Yeah, it's a serious change, and for those of us who are older, we can remember back in the day, like where things were a lot different. These days it's like TMZ. That's all. Everyone's trying to be like TMZ. Your laugh is infectious. Thank you so much. It's Miss Cece. I ain't gonna be laughing all that much though. Okay, not tonight. Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, you can hear. Okay, news sources rarely get all the facts before reporting. It's all about who gets. Yeah, you're right. Who gets it out first? That's why they have to retract and update statements. You're absolutely right about that. Okay, I remember hearing a statement such it's not about who's right, it's about who's first. And even in some cases, like with Stephen A. Smith, he just make up some shit. I've been hearing that he can't even get out the who said that? Okay. All right. Okay, so here we go. Let me pull this up. Then I'll start it from the beginning. On August 22nd, 2023, Stephen A. Smith was on ESPN's First Take and stated the following about Chicago Bull point guard Lonzo Ball. I've heard that it's even hard for him to get up from the sitting position. On August 23rd, 2023, Lonzo Ball posted the following video to his social media.
Stephen A., who are your sources, bro? Please tell me who your sources are. Come on, man. Come on, man. You gotta stop yapping. And I actually like you, man. I don't even know you like that, but I like you. I'm coming back, man. Come on.
He sound like his daddy. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Clearly, Lonzo Ball can get up from the sitting position using the same knee that has had serious health-related issues. Lonzo Ball's video proves that Stephen A. Smith's comment was false. Instead of Stephen A. Smith issuing a public apology, he doubled down in a feeble attempt to deflect from his erroneous statement. While attempting to deflect from his erroneous statement, Stephen A. Smith behaved emotionally, irrationally, raising his voice while demeaning Lonzo Ball's value as an athlete, citing Ball's injury history. Understand that Stephen A. Smith is not a professional journalist or sports commentator. He is a highly paid shock jock who creates false narratives about athletes. He consistently demeans, disrespects, and devalues male athletes, more precisely, black male athletes.
Okay, let me stop there right here because this is so very true. I'm going to say something too. If for all the talk about how, racism and white people this and white people that, no one does us more dirty than each other. Okay, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. That it's not popular to say. People, some of y'all will get mad at me, but the people who do us the dirtiest consistently is us. Okay, on a daily basis. And this is another example of what I mean. Because if Stephen A. was white and he conducted himself like he does as a black man on ESPN, everyone would be outraged in the black community talking about this guy is racist. I can't believe he's doing this. But because he's black, he gets a pass. Okay, what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter who's doing it. It's not right. It's wrong. And what Stephen A. has become, it's nothing more than a caricature of someone who demeans, disrespect, and devalues black athletes, more specifically black athletes in the NBA. But if he was white, people's whole perspective on this would change. See, ESPN wouldn't hire a white person to do that because they know that they wouldn't be able to get away with it. But they will hire Stephen A. Smith to do it and put him out front as the headliner, as it were. Okay, that is not a popular opinion, but that's my opinion. Okay, all right, let's go.
Gumbel never did this about athletes. He consistently demeans, disrespects, and devalues male athletes, more precisely, black male athletes. Gumbel never did this.
Okay, and matter of fact, I'm gonna come back to this because I have slides. I'll let it play.
James Brown never did this. Art Rush Jr. never did this. Robin Roberts never did this. Pam Oliver never did this. Cheryl Miller never did this. Stuart Scott never did this. These sports commentators and journalists were consummate professionals who conducted themselves with honor, dignity, and grace while showing respect to the very athletes whose hard work created a job market for people like Stephen A. Smith. It is one thing to criticize the performance of an athlete. It is another thing to issue personal attacks against an athlete. Stephen A. Smith, a black man, has for over a decade specifically targeted black male athletes, issuing unnecessary, unprofessional, and dispassionate personal attacks. He has made his career off demeaning, disrespecting, and devaluing black male athletes. Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kwame Brown, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, to name a few. The same level of disregard and disrespect that Stephen A. Smith has exhibited towards black male athletes is not present when he speaks about white male athletes. Case in point, when black male athletes were caught with marijuana, Stephen A. Smith made a point to racialize the issue and disparage black male athletes. But when Johnny Manziel's career was disrupted because of alcoholism and drug use, Stephen A. Smith did not racialize the issue and was careful to point out how Johnny Manziel came from an affluent family, how his father loved him, and how his family would do everything in their power to get Johnny Manziel back on track. My point is that Stephen A. Smith showed compassion for Johnny Manziel. The same level of compassion is not present when Stephen A. Smith demeans black male athletes. Let me make it clear. It is not that all of Stephen A. Smith's commentary is rooted in personal attacks against black male athletes. It is that over the past 15 years, a significant portion of his commentary is rooted in personal attacks against black male athletes. These attacks are often mimicked by other sports commentators, thusly damaging the reputation of and decreasing the marketability and therefore earning potential of black male athletes. As stated before, Stephen A. Smith is not a professional journalist. He is a shock jock who lacks integrity and is far too prideful to apologize for the false statement he made about Lonzo Ball.
All right. So what I want to do now is I have some slides and I'll basically be going through this step by step and have some slides. And if anyone has any questions for me, you can post inside the chat room. Thanks everyone again for being here. Reverend says, it reminds me of how Gayle King got into Lisa Leslie about Kobe Bryant after his death. I remember that. Extremely disrespectful. It was. They get propped up and paid well to make black athletes look bad. And the thing is, it's ironic because you don't see white sportscasters or journalists, let's say who cover Major League Baseball. You don't see them doing that to white players. You don't see it. Same thing with the NFL. In fact, you don't even see NFL, the sports commentators, overwhelmingly the white sports commentators and journalists, you don't see them doing that to black athletes in the NFL either. Not like how Stephen A does to black athletes in the NBA. And he does it to football players too, but more specifically, it's NBA. So why is that the case? See, because if those same white commentators or sports analysts or whatever, journalists, if they talk like Stephen A talks and does these racialized personal attacks against black athletes, everyone will be in an uproar. But for some reason, it's okay for Stephen A. Smith to do it. Which reminds me, like I said before, it's like, we talk about racism, and yeah, I get that. But what is it about us looking at how we're treating each other in the first place? Because we're dealing with that more so every single day than anything else. Okay, trust me. We all have had to deal with racism, but overwhelmingly, it's us doing us dirty, just like it's Stephen A. Smith doing us dirty. See, but if you flip it around, and if Stephen A. Smith was a white guy, it would be straight up racism. People would be outraged, but somehow he gets a pass. All right. So let me bring this up right here. And I use the word hate because it is hateful. What he's been doing, it's hateful. And I have a sense, and I don't know this for sure, but I'll get into this a little bit later as to why that is the case. It's not just about the money. He's paid to do this. He's paid very well to do this. So obviously, ESPN is okay with it. Yeah, you can go ahead and do this. And you're going to be the one to do this. We're not going to let any of these white sports commentators. Who was the guy that was on his show that left recently? He was good, very intelligent. He was more into the boxing. His brother was a boxer and passed away. Rest in peace. I think his brother was a boxer. Max Kellerman. You guys ever see Max Kellerman get up there and disrespect, demean, and demoralize and devalue black male athletes like that, like Stephen A. does? No, you didn't see it. Okay. Now there are some exceptions, like Skip Bayless. That's his whole persona. In fact, I think Stephen A. took that persona and just kind of morphed it into what he has become, a caricature. See? Max Kellerman always had a level of respect. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, let me get to this. I'm already running behind here. It's hateful. Yeah, he was. I enjoyed his commentary. I always did. Highly intelligent, and he wasn't just throwing stuff out there. He knew what he was talking about. But same thing with this one guy, because I watch. I'm into sports. Okay, basketball, and I watch certain people. I like Chris Broussard. He be tripping sometimes, but overall he's cool. But he has a Nick Wright. I like Nick Wright because when he first got on, he was goofy. Now he's cool with it now, but he's gotten better. But he's never disrespectful and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, all right, here we go. So this whole controversy, because it has turned into a controversy, it revolves around these comments that Stephen A. made a couple of days ago. He says, I've heard that it's even hard for him to get up from the sitting position. He was talking about Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball plays for the Chicago Bulls, a point guard. When he was initially drafted by, I think it was drafted number 2 or 3 by the Los Angeles Lakers. Didn't work out, ended up trading him. I think that's how they got Anthony Davis over here. I'm a Laker fan. And they moved him over to New Orleans, and then they ended up trading to Chicago. But over the last year and a half, 2 years, he's had some serious, and he's going to be out next year too. He has some serious health issues dealing with his knee. So this is what Stephen A. is referring to. He says, I've heard that it's even hard for him to get up from the sitting position. Okay. And then LeVar, I was going to say LaMelo. Lonzo Ball, he does a video, and I showed the video a little bit earlier, where he's getting up from the chair on one leg. He's getting up from the chair with, and I tried to do this myself. I can't even do that with one leg. I can barely do it with 2 legs. Okay, but mind you, this leg right here, this is the same leg where he's had these knee issues. Okay, so what he's doing is he's showing and he's proving that what Stephen A. Smith stated was not true. Okay, this is what Stephen A. Smith says. I've heard that it's even hard for him to get up from the sitting position. So he can't get up from, it's hard. No, he not only is he getting up from the sitting position, but he's doing it off of one leg. And I tried it too myself, and my knees, I said, I said, no, let me scoot on out, all right. But instead of Stephen A. Smith coming back and apologizing or issuing a retraction, and that's what professionals do, he doubles down on it. He does this video where he's ranting and he starts going off. He's yelling and screaming. His voice gets all high and start talking crazy. He almost cursed too. He's like, sit your ass down. Well, yeah, okay. Just emotional about it. That's not professional. And again, what he should have done is simply retracted the statement. But I think his arrogance and his ego has been so inflated that he's unwilling to admit when he's wrong. Okay, that's not professional, right? It's someone who's been in the limelight and they drinking their own Kool-Aid. All right. Now, I want to point this out. If we go back in time, and I'm talking specifically Black sportscasters, commentators, reporters, they didn't do what Stephen A. Smith does, and they didn't behave like he behaves too. Okay, and this is one person right here. Okay, I mean, this is old time. His name was Art Rust Jr. Okay, so let me just do these slides. Let me know if anyone know who this is inside the chat room. Her brother played and he played his whole career for, what team was that? I can't remember. Indiana Pacers. Okay, he was a great 3-point shooter. Anybody know who this is? I'm just so that we can have a little participation. We're almost done. That's right. That's Reggie Miller's sister. That's right. She was a cutie pie too. I ain't gonna lie. I had a little crush on her back in the day. When I was a kid, when I was young, I had a little crush on her. That's Reggie Miller's sister. Fantastic. She always did a fantastic job and very respectful the way that she conducted herself. Okay, true professional. Cheryl Miller. Okay. Is this his birthday today? All right, happy birthday to Reggie Miller. He was always one of my favorite players, even way back in the day. He was one of my favorite players. One of my sons looks like him. Anybody know who this is? Yeah, and you all should if you used to watch ESPN pre Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, she sure did, and she could play too. She was real good. Anybody know who this is? He was one of my favorites when I used to watch ESPN back in the early 90s. This brother's name is Stu. That's right, Stuart Scott. Okay, he was smooth with it too. I would say that he was one of the first people that kind of brought the swag, the black swag, as it were, to ESPN. He was one of the first people to do it. Very popular. And he at that time, he became Stuart Scott. He became the headliner over at ESPN. Okay, so he was, and I remember I used to wait to hear him for him to come on and all that stuff. I used to watch ESPN too much. I used to, me and my girlfriend back then, to go over her house, and she used to make cookies. I watched ESPN, and we would do a little bump and grind, and boy, that was a great deal, boy. I tell you, you ain't gonna never get no deal like that in your life. In your life, my guy, you can't beat that. All right. The Lakers were getting good too back. No, I'm just so he was real smooth with it, very professional. You didn't hear him demeaning and disrespecting black male athletes like Stephen A. Smith does. And Stephen A. Smith does it consistently. Anybody remember who this is? Okay. He did a lot with the Olympics. He really was at a certain point before Stuart Scott, he was the main guy. Okay, he wasn't, I don't believe he was on ESPN. I think he was on ABC or NBC, but he did a lot with the Olympics in big productions. And he was very, very popular for a very long time. Y'all think I'm playing. I kid you not. You used to get them, it used to be them cookies in that little roll thing that you get from the store. And they're not made yet. They're in that little thing, look like a sausage. Okay. And then you take the thing off, and then you take it and you put the little things on the pan, and then you put it in, and then they fluff, they go down. Chocolate chip cookies, boy. I used to be chocolate chip cookies, milk, watch ESPN, and get the bumping and grinding. Sometimes all at the same time. Yeah, that is Bryant Gumbel. Okay, Bryant Gumbel. If you guys remember him from a long time ago, and again, very had a lot of very respectful. The way that he conducted himself was very professional. And I'm trying to prove a point here because this is the antithesis of what Stephen A. Smith has become. Anybody know who this is? All right, he used to do a lot of the NFL. I think he's probably still doing some, but he used to. Yeah, he does like I think the morning show or something like that. But he's been popular for a very long time. He looks like he used to play football because he's pretty big. His name is James Brown, not to be confused with the Godfather of Soul. This brother's name is James Brown. Always conducting himself with respect. He's not out here disrespecting black male athletes in the NFL or otherwise. Okay. This cutie pie right here. Anybody know who this is? Yeah, she get older too, boy. I tell you. I told you I done said it. let me stop. Let me stop. Anybody know who this is? James Brown. Okay, he's still on CBS. Yeah. He sure did. Yep. He did Tiger Woods. Yeah. Irv Cross. I don't remember Irv. Let me go look and see. Anyone? No one knows who this is. Yeah, Pam Oliver. Yeah, she does the NFL. Yeah, she does a real good job. Very professional. You don't hear her disrespecting and demeaning black male athletes in the NFL or otherwise, and she's a cutie too. She's a cutie pie, right? So you said Irv Cross. Let me just look that up real quick. Irv Cross. Oh, that's from way long time ago. Yeah, this is way long time ago. Yeah, I don't remember watching this guy. Yeah, that's from way long time ago right here. Yep. Okay. Anybody know who this is? She's always done a fantastic job. I think she used to play sports too, if my memory serves me right. But she always did it very professional. Okay, she's not up here screaming and yelling and acting a fool and making up stories and none of that stuff. She's not going after black athletes and demeaning any of them. She doesn't do that. This is Robin Roberts. She always conducts herself with class. All right. Stephen A. Smith does not do that. It's unfortunate too. And the truth of the matter is that he wasn't always that extreme what he has become. Right. And of course, here's Stephen A. Smith. The point that I want to make is that Stephen A. Smith, he's outclassed by these individuals. And yet he's the one that's paid. Some people have reported upwards to $12 million a year, something like that. I've heard reports $7 million a year. I'm sure these sportscasters weren't making that kind of money or are not making that type of money, but somehow Stephen A. Smith is. Well, why is that the case? Okay. Here's an old picture too. I can't remember who the brother is in the middle. I think he used to play football. I think he was a quarterback in college. I don't remember if he played in the NFL or not. If my memory serves me right, but I can't remember what his name is. But this is Stuart Scott here in the blue shirt, blue tie. You have Stephen A. Smith over here on the right, and then the brother there. And anybody know who this brother is here inside the middle? Let me know. I just couldn't remember his name. But the point that I want to get here is this was when Stuart Scott was still around, and at that time, Stephen A. Smith was not the headliner. Stuart Scott was the headliner. Okay. Yeah, he's on Entertainment Tonight. Yeah. Maybe I'm mixing him up with someone else. Well, what's his name? Anybody know his name? She was on Sports Center when it was a must. Okay. Yeah, that's his name, Kevin Frazier. Yeah, I thought he played football. I thought he did. Let me go look it up right quick. In college, I thought he was a quarterback. Maybe he's not. Maybe I'm thinking of another Frazier. Yeah, no, he didn't play football. Wait, no, he went to Morgan State. No, I don't think he played. I think I'm mixing him up with another guy with the last name with Frazier. But anyway, I remember him from a long time ago. I don't know if he's still around or not. But that was an older picture. Okay, but the point I want to make here is that this is before Stephen A. Smith became the headliner, and Stuart Scott really was the man back in the day. Here's old pictures of Stephen A. Smith. Okay. This was the infamous when he did the thing on what's the brother's name? His name is Kwame Brown. Okay. And that was an example of how you can actually destroy a person's reputation by demeaning and demoralizing and disrespecting them over and over and over again. And he did that with Kwame Brown. We did that for many, many years. And here's the other thing, and I've talked about this too in the past. This is an issue in the Black community. And because most of us, and I'm gonna say it, most of us, we're not raised with strong male figures in our lives. And many of us were raised without our fathers in the first place. And I have to believe that Stephen A. Smith did not have a father in his life early on, because a good father would teach him fatherly compassion. What that means is that as you come into manhood, that you extend a level of compassion to those who are younger than you, and you don't seek to destroy them or cut them down. You seek to elevate them and raise them up. Is that what Stephen A. Smith is doing? No. Is that what he did with Kwame Brown? Kwame Brown was like 17, 18, 19 years old. That's not what he did with Kwame Brown. And then over and over again, he's a bust, and all of a sudden people latch on to that, and it's carried. Can you imagine you coming into the league at a very early age, and then that's the stigma that's placed on you, and then you got to live your career out with that stigma, and then after you're done, people still have that placed on you. That's so dispassionate. It shows a lack of fatherly compassion. Stephen A. Smith should be ashamed of himself. He really should be, because that's not how you treat Black males as a Black man. See, again, we can talk all the white supremacy and racism we want to, but look how we do each other. Stephen A. Smith is an excellent example. And I guarantee you that if Stephen A. Smith was a white person, he would not be able to get away with that. But somehow he gets a pass. Do you destroy people's reputation, their profitability, their earning potential? When they go into contract negotiation, you got all this drama associated with them, and all these sportscasters being saying all these bad things about you. I don't know. Maybe instead of giving you $4 million, we're gonna put that down to $2.5 million. See, it's amazing to me that ESPN pays this guy to do this and has done this and paid him for all this time. Because you remember all of the Black Lives Matter on the court and all the stuff. Well, if it really matters, why does ESPN allow Stephen A. Smith to continue to demean and disrespect and devalue Black male athletes? It's a contradiction, right? But what he did to Kwame Brown in particular, there's no justification for that. None whatsoever. Recently, he was on a podcast with another basketball player who plays for the, what's his name? Paul George, I think. Is that his name? He plays for the Los Angeles Clippers. And he said how he regretted that. But when he said that, he didn't apologize. He says, I meant what I said. See, there's the arrogance and the ego. Borderline narcissism. Can't admit that you were wrong. You'll say, I wish I didn't do that, but I stand by what I said. Well, okay, well, what does that mean? That means that you're attempting to apologize, but you're not. See, he knows what he did was wrong, and he's still doing it to this day. I'm gonna give you guys some examples of that in just a moment. I gave the example too of there was a time where Black athletes. This is when marijuana or weed, as we used to call it, weed was illegal in most places, and there were Black male athletes, in particular in the NBA, who were getting hemmed up or caught up with weed. And so he would do these anybody remember these? If you remember these, hit the one. He would get on there and he start ranting and raging, and then he would always say they can't stay off the weed, and it becomes a meme. It's something to laugh about and joke about. But at whose expense? As opposed to having fatherly compassion and saying, listen, I just want to send this young brother some words of encouragement and advice. You got to make sure that you're on the straight and narrow, because you don't want to mess this up. And you're in a great opportunity to really develop a generational wealth that can benefit your family for generations to come. So young man, do better, because I know that you can. Is that what he does? No, that's not what he does. Because I can tell he wasn't raised by no real men. What he does is he berates them, he demeans them, he demoralizes them, he disrespects them. This is what he did over and over again. It just wasn't with one. It would be 2, 3, 4, 5, over and over again. Meanwhile, everyone else is laughing at it. It's funny. Okay, yeah. But at whose expense exactly? And then, of course, when Johnny Manziel gets into a whole bunch of trouble, way more than smoking some weed. You should have seen, because I was shocked. Stephen A. Smith was sitting up there. He was like, well, and his whole tone, he's not, yeah, you got to stay off the weed. Because see, when he would always, whenever the weed thing would come up, he would always racialize it. You know, you're a young black man and you're in this opportunity to make all this money. And basically you're tricking it off. Okay. I'm just using my vernacular. You're tricking it off. And you're black and you should be taking advantage of this because of where black people are at and blah, blah, blah. So it becomes a racial issue. It's racialized. No, it's just somebody that smokes some weed. What does that have to do with anything? Now the whole weight of the whole black race is on this young black man's shoulder, basically, according to Stephen A. Smith. But because that young man was smoking some weed, he's tricking it all off. He racialized it. He turns it into something totally, it becomes a mega structure as opposed to someone just smoking some little weed. Okay? I'm not justifying it. Okay, I'm not. People, you do what you want to do. Because nowadays, you know, everybody beat you. I ain't never smoked no weed, so I'm not justifying. I would advise if you can stay away from that. You stay away from alcohol. That's probably in your best interest. But if you're going to do that with fatherly compassion, I'm not going to demoralize, demean, and disrespect you, and then turn it into like a running joke to where everyone's following along, and it becomes funny somehow. It's nothing funny about it. And then when Johnny Manziel gets into a lot more trouble than that, you should see Stephen A. Smith's whole demeanor. It changes. He's talking, you know, well, we do know that he's struggling with some things and he comes from an affluent family. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? And his father loves him. What? Well, the daddy of the black boys, the black young men that were smoking weed, their daddy don't love them. Their mama don't love them. And, you know, his family loves him so much and they're going to do everything to get him back on track. I believe this. What? That's not what the black families, they're not doing that, trying to do that for them. No. But you see the difference? When I saw that, I said, I cannot believe this guy. So he'll tiptoe around athletes who are getting into much, much more trouble than the black athletes who are smoking. He'll tiptoe and he's very careful with what he says. Very careful. He has what? Compassion. He has what? Fatherly compassion, but not for the black male athlete. Why is that the case? This guy was wilding out big time. Look at him. And for a long time, too. It just wasn't one incident. But the way that they handled this was totally different than how they handled the black male athlete. Now, I want to point something out, too, because a lot of people don't know about this, or they don't remember this. But one of the big issues that Stephen A. Smith took with LeBron James was what was called the decision. Some of you guys may not remember this. Some of you guys may remember this. But the decision was when LeBron James, he was playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was a free agent, and people were wondering where he was going to go next. And so LeBron James decides to make this big announcement. And that's what this was right here. And, you know, look, they had kids in the background. they're at the Boys and Girls Club of America. And I can't remember who this sports guy is right here. He's been around for a long time. I don't even know if he's still around, but he's the one that's talking with LeBron James, not Stephen A. Smith. See, watch this. Stephen A. Smith isn't right here getting the glory that this once in a generation talent whose name is LeBron James is about to make a decision on whether or not he's going to go to a different team. Prior to that, he had been with the Cleveland Cavaliers for his whole career since coming out of high school. But this is the guy who LeBron James chooses to talk to, and they have this conversation. And it was during this decision video that LeBron James makes the announcement that he's taking his talents to South Beach and he's going to join the Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade. This was huge. And what people fail to realize is that one of the reasons why LeBron James was so vilified for making this decision, it's within his right to make this decision, was because people like Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith in particular, went through this whole campaign to discredit LeBron James based upon the decision that he's made. And I remember later on, he said something like, well, it wasn't about the decision. It was how he went about making the decision. Who are you to tell another man how he's going to go about making a decision? Ain't got nothing to do with Stephen A. Smith. Okay. You just somebody up there that you want to play basketball but couldn't cut it. But you're going to tell LeBron, you're going to be mad at it. And then he keeps ragging on it over and over and over again. But you know what I think? I think that Stephen A. Smith was upset and jealous because he wasn't the one sitting up there with LeBron James when LeBron James made that decision. So what does he do? He starts this whole campaign to vilify LeBron James. Now, let me say this, because I know sports well enough. Anytime someone like this leaves a team, the fan base, there's going to be a fan base that they're going to be upset. They're going to be so mad. They're going to be hurt. They're going to be sad. And I get that. But what people fail to realize is that one of the reasons why, even to this day, LeBron James gets so much hate from people. He ain't done nothing to nobody. He exercises his right to be a free agent, to go where he chooses, which is a right that black athletes fought for. Yeah, there were people who were upset, but not to the degree that was spurred by Stephen A. Smith and others, but Stephen A. Smith in particular, as he began to seek to demonize LeBron James for a decision. This is what I mean, how it's not only is it not professional, but it's dangerous. Because if you're reporting over and over again about LeBron James and you're disparaging LeBron James over and over again and you're fueling the fire, it actually impacts other people's perspective on LeBron James, their perception of LeBron James. But if you guys really think about this, what has LeBron James done to anybody? Why does he get so much hate? Did he get hate in Cleveland? No. Did he get a massive amount of hate when he left Miami? He got some, because that's always going to happen. But did he get it like he got it when he left Cleveland to go to Miami? No. When he left from Miami to Los Angeles, did he get that same level? No. So why did he get that amount of hate? And one of the reasons why is because he was vilified. And one of the main people who was vilifying him was Stephen A. Smith. A lot of people forget about that. This is what I mean. People have to be cognizant of the level of influence that these sportscasters can have. And if their agenda is to demean, demoralize, disrespect black male athletes, in particular the NBA, that's going to influence people's perception. I would propose that a lot of the people that NBA players, even of NFL players, that people don't like, if you really ask them, why don't you like them, they can't give you a clear reason why. So why do they have that perception? It's because of people like Stephen A. Smith. Now, let's real quick. Okay, I want to do a sports show. Okay, we get on here and we can debate. Yeah, I ain't gonna be yelling like, I may have the hairline, but I ain't gonna be yelling and screaming like Stephen A. Because I disagree on that part. Stephen A. Smith has the right to speak on him teaming up with superstars. That trend has hurt the league. That could be argued. It could be argued that it hurt the league, but that wasn't the first super team. No, super teams existed before that. That's one narrative that people have spun. Go look at the Lakers in the 80s. Go look at the Celtics. See, that wasn't anything new. Shit, go look at the Chicago Bulls. Come on now, bro. Come on now. You got Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. You also have Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant. Horace Grant was highly underrated too, by the way. But let's just go with the Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and Dennis Rodman. You got arguably the greatest defensive power forward in league, in league history, arguably the greatest defensive. Okay, you got the greatest shooting guard in league history, and you also got the greatest defensive shooting guard in league history, the greatest offensive shooting guard in league history. You got arguably the greatest small forward defensive player in the NBA, who wasn't no slouch offensively either. That's a super team. So no, we can't say that somehow LeBron hurt the league by joining the Miami Heat, because if we say that, we would also have to say, okay, but when Rodman went to the Bulls, that hurt the league too? Bro, we might have to. Might have to do a sports show. Let me know if you wanted to. We can do it. Maybe we start a fantasy basketball league before the league starts. We could do that too, and we can have some fun. Okay, I want to do a video to talk about who is the greatest point guard of all time. Okay, I see you got on the Lakers shirt, so I already know what you're gonna say. Horace Grant was he was so underrated. He was. Y'all know he had a twin brother too. His name was Harvey. Okay. Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. That was a super team. You got one of the greatest power forwards of all time. You got the one at the time, the greatest shooter of all time, Ray Allen. And then you have Paul Pierce. We ain't even gonna get into that right now. Boy, he been wilding out lately. And then you have some ancillary pieces, Rajon Rondo. All right. Okay, let's get back to it. All right. So this was the decision, and I have a sense that Stephen A. Smith was just jealous because he didn't get to talk, and he wasn't part of this production. I can't remember who this guy is right here, but he used to do a lot of stuff back then. I always liked him. Again, very professional in how he conducted himself. Again, here's a picture of LeBron James. Okay, he's one of the people who has been adversely impacted by sports commentators and analysts and so forth and journalists disparaging him for really no good reason. Okay, because we can't. What can we attribute to LeBron James? We say, this was wrong. He hasn't had any stuff outside of off the field, off the court. There's always something going on. Kobe had problems. Shaq had problems. All the baby mamas and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of people. Sean Kemp got like 10 baby mamas and 5 kids. I don't even know how you got 10 baby mamas and 5 kids, but somehow the math, he worked it out. Literally and figuratively. But what can we say about LeBron? So why do people hate him so much? Well, a lot of it has to do with how people's perceptions have been molded by mass media, in particular sports commentators like Stephen A. Smith. Number one, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Steph Curry are the top 3 point. Okay, I listen. I'll take Magic at 1. We're gonna do a show. Okay, we're gonna do a show. I'll take Magic at 1. That's where I would put him. Isaiah Thomas, I could put him at 2. Steph Curry, I could put him at 3. I mean, that's solid right there. There's other people we consider too, but yeah, that's solid. I couldn't argue that. I mean, I could maybe move Steph over to Isaiah or move Isaiah over to Steph, maybe, but Magic Johnson is number 1. I think Stephen A. Smith, he made that comment just to be a shock jock. Okay? We're gonna get into this. We're gonna do some more sports. Duncan, Ginobili, Parker. Super team. I don't know if super team. I don't know if they were on. Well, listen, they had a great team. They won championships, but I don't know if outside of Duncan, you can say, well, maybe. I mean, it could be argued. Right? All right. Let's get back to, and this is another argument dealing with Steph. We're getting all off topic, and I got to go to bed too. I'm supposed to be in the bed right now. Okay. This could be argued too that Steph is a combo guard, and really he's more of a shooting guard, how he plays, than a point guard. That could be argued as well. Okay. Yeah, I know you could put Chris Paul at number 3, right? I mean, you could also, a person can argue Chris Paul at number 2. Okay. I don't know if that would be wise because he hasn't really won anything, but I wouldn't say that Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker was a super team. No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't, but I mean, it could be. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay, because I gotta go to bed. So I just want to give a couple of other examples real quick. Of course, Stephen A. Smith went at Kevin Durant for a long time, to the point where Kevin Durant's mama had to come on to First Take and settle things down. That's a doggone shame when your mama got to go up there and clear things up. And for whatever reason, Stephen A. Smith, drama queen, felt like that was something that was honorable or something. That's all I'm saying. He wasn't raised by no men, because ain't no men that ain't gonna let things get to that point. They're gonna have the person that you beefing with have their mama come on the show. What? Y'all remember that? He kept going at Kevin Durant, going at him over and over again. Again, Kevin Durant decides to go to the Golden State Warriors. I can't believe he did that. Blah blah. Who's you? If he wanted, he can go wherever he want to go. You guys understand that black athletes have to fight for the right for free agency in the first place. Before that, you couldn't go wherever you want to. You sign a contract with the team, and the owner is the one. Okay, well, I can ship you over here when I want to, if I want to. That there was no free agent. So no, Kevin Durant go wherever he want to. Any athlete can go wherever he want to. Okay, it's a right. But he chose to go at Kevin Durant over and over and over again, to the point where Kevin Durant's mama had to come up on the show and talk with Stephen A. Smith. Somehow Stephen A. Smith thought that was honorable. No, that it looked horrible. It was a weak move, in my opinion. And of course, Kyrie Irving, and I'm not even talking about the whole situation with the Amazon link and all that stuff. I'm not even talking about that. That's a whole separate topic. I've talked about that in the past. But his whole thing for a long time with Kyrie Irving, especially around the COVID time, he had issues with him prior to that. But during the COVID time, was Kyrie Irving wouldn't take the shot. Now he has a right not to take the shot. It's America. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But somehow he turns it into, yeah, but what about your team? It ain't about that. It's about a man having the right as a man. How you gonna tell another man whether or not he should get a shot or not so he can go play some basketball? Who's you? But Stephen A. turns it into this big drama. And then what happens is other sportscasters pick up on it. And then all of a sudden, everybody's ganging up on Kyrie Irving. And that's another point I got to make here. Again, I've been watching ESPN since the early 90s. And this is something that didn't happen before, but you see it these days. One person will start, and it's usually Stephen A. He'll start. It's mainly him. He's mainly other people that'll start, and he'll pick it up. But most of the time, it's him. He'll start going at a basketball player, and as soon as that basketball player comes back and claps back, and especially if he says anything about the media, then all of the media starts to gang up and go at it at the athlete. It's like a game. That's not professional. That's not how it was back in the day. I showed you guys pictures of other black sportscasters, commentators, and journalists. They didn't behave like that. But these days, that's how it is. Okay. Here's a list of some of the names that I had in the video. If you guys can think of any of other people, go ahead and post inside the chat room that Stephen A. Smith has targeted. Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kwame Brown. Okay, almost done here. I didn't mean for this to go this long. I want to go like 30 minutes. And this brings me to something else. And I can't verify this, but I have a sense that a lot of the animus and a lot of the vitriol, as Stephen A. Smith states quite often, is rooted in Stephen A.'s own failures as a basketball player. And some people may say that shouldn't matter. And I agree, it shouldn't matter. But with Stephen A. Smith, it's clear to me that it does. Okay. And part of it is that everything is so personal. Professionalism is thrown out the door, and everything becomes like a targeted approach to a specific black male athlete, not to the white ones, okay, but to the black male athletes, in particular in the NBA. He has done it with the NFL too. If you guys have any NFL players that he's targeted, go ahead and post out the chat room, or if you view this at later time, post down inside the comment section. Sound like Stephen A. Smith. We run his mouth. He all run his mouth. When he targets people in this way, it becomes personal. And he's not the only one that has done it. Skip Bayless. I think he learned a lot of these types of maneuverings and machinations by kicking it and dealing with what's the guy's name? The white guy. What's his name? Undisputed Skip Bayless. I think he picked up a lot of that. And see, it works for Skip Bayless. See, if Skip Bayless wasn't so over the top and so shock jock-esque, as it were, people wouldn't watch him. He's a goofy. And he always has had to have black talent on his show in order to make it go. Because if he got up there by himself, ain't nobody watching it. I remember he was doing these videos where he's sitting up there reading off of a thing like it's 1925 and shit. And blah, blah, blah. And my mammy, something. I was you talking about his mammy. I said, oh, Lord Jesus, you can't still you. And she was black, and I don't have no racism in me. And I'm like, okay, fine. But man, you gonna sit up there and read your script. He had Shannon Sharpe on there. Shannon Sharpe, his talent is super talent. If he was an NBA player, it's like on a Shaq level. When Shaq ain't just a star, he's a superstar. He has superstar talent. Well, Same thing with what's his name? Thingy from Alabama. Shannon Sharp. I was a Shannon Sharp fan. Him and his brother had messed his neck up back in the day. But his talent is astronomical. He's barely touched the surface. He's really good at what he does. But see, the one guy, whatever his name is, Skip Bayless, he always has to have black talent around him to make his show go. Because if he doesn't, he's a goofy. Right. But I have a sense that Stephen A picked up a lot of that from him, and then he just transferred over, and then he just takes it over. And over the years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse with it. Right? Yeah, he sure did go at Chad Ochocinco. He sure did. Okay. Where are we at? We're almost done here. I was making a point that, in my opinion, Stephen A. Smith, a lot of his animus is rooted in his own failings as a basketball player. Okay? Look at him. Why is his left arm due west? His elbow is over there on the other side of the planet. Okay. Anyway. All right. And then again, this is when he went on the show after Lonzo Ball posted the video, and he doubled down on what he was saying. The point that I'm making here is that how he conducted himself was totally unprofessional, and it speaks to a problem. Okay. And the problem is how a lot of this has become so normalized. The idea that it's okay to go on these personalized, racialized, in many cases, attacks. And I know people say, well, why is it racialized? Well, because Stephen A. Smith has a habit of saying, well, you're a black athlete, and you got to somehow you got to be held to a higher standard than the white athletes. Johnny Manziel, you get a pass. We're gonna coddle him. His family, they're affluent. They're gonna take care of him. Everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be on. But then when there's black athletes, he goes totally off the rails. See, that's a problem. Now, before I get done with this, and I think that was the last slide. Let me just make sure. Oh no, I got one other thing I want to show y'all. Questions should be raised by everyone as to how it's possible that NBA could sponsor or have a participate in Black Lives Matter, and ESPN participates too, and yet they allow Stephen A. Smith to continue to demean, demoralize, and disrespect black male athletes, in particular, black male NBA athletes. It's a total contradiction. Okay, it also shows you how a lot of this was just a stage show anyway. It's smoke and mirrors. You can't say that Black Lives Matter and yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to fight against injustice when you allow Stephen A. Smith to continue to conduct himself in such a way wherein it's not about being honest, sincere, and speaking the truth, which is unjust. It's about the shock factor. It's about the drama. It's about creating false narratives about not white athletes, but black athletes. And yet, there you have it there. It says Black Lives Matter. Total contradiction. And as a solution, this is the last slide, what Stephen A. Smith should have done as a professional was to issue a retraction, and they do that all the time, and then apologize. That's all. But his arrogance and his sense of self-righteousness would not allow him to say, hey, look, I'm sorry about that, bro. My bad. I retract that and then move on. No, not Stephen A. Smith. Not only did he do a show on ESPN, he then tripled down and went on to his podcast and basically tried to explain this away again, moving the goalposts, not addressing the issue. And the issue was that he was wrong when he said, I've heard that it's even hard for him to get up from the sitting position. We're going to come back to this at a later time because there's other things that I do want to talk about dealing with Stephen A. Smith. And there's so many instances of him targeting black male athletes and with reckless abandon without having any sense of respect for them. Kwame Brown being a preeminent example, but there's so many others. And one of the solutions that should be in place, and I'm just going to say this to close out, is that these networks who hire these types of people, it should be placed in their contract wherein you are not to make statements that are personalized, wherein it is a personal attack against any athlete. And if you do it once, Okay, is there going to be a fine? You do it twice, you're going to be suspended. You do it a third time, and you're fired. I'm surprised that hasn't been the case anyway, because they have these books. I can't remember what they're called, and it outline all the rules and regulations in terms of what's going to be taking place on that show, what you can say, what you can't say, all that stuff, and they have to read through that and understand that. I remember one time Nick Wright pulled it out. I think it was Nick Wright. It might have been, yeah, Nick Wright pulled it out, and he says, "Well, I have it," and he pulled it out. He started saying, "You can't do this, and you can't. When you're debating, you can change your mind after such and such sessions." They got that stuff down to a science. Well, there should be verbiage in there that says you cannot issue personal attacks against athletes. Now, if you want to talk X's and O's, you want to criticize their game, okay, that's fine. And like I said in the video, I'm going to read this to close out. It is one thing to criticize the performance of an athlete, and that's perfectly fine. It's another thing to issue personal attacks against an athlete. Okay, that's out of bounds. Okay, that's a foul. And the verbiage in their contracts is state that if you go out of bounds in these regards, then there's going to be a fine associated with it. And if you keep doing it, there's going to be further penalties, and at a certain point, it's termination. That'll solve the issue in and of itself. Okay. That's the solution, in my opinion. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning on in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you can hit the like button, I appreciate it. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We're going to do some more sports-related stuff. I'm thinking about doing a fantasy basketball league this year, and people can join, and we can enjoy that, and then we can do some shows on how as we progress to the league. But I plan on doing more stuff and get back into the routine of doing live streams here on YouTube. Again, thank you all so much for tuning on in. Please enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll talk to y'all very, very soon. All right, y'all take care. Peace.